Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tom Time. If you're new here, this is the second episode. I'm Tom, and I talk about AI in the legal market and beyond. Not through hype, not through fear, and not through PowerPoint. I focus on the human impact because that's where the real disruption happens. I'm not rehashing the top AI news of the week. I am sharing what I personally saw last week and this week in real conversations, real projects, and in real leadership dynamics. So here are my 5 personal headlines of the week, and we'll dive into each of those as we proceed with this episode of Tom Time. Number 1, decision making is broken. Number 2, dreamland versus mainland. Number 3, productivity increases without a people strategy. Number 4, depressing legal and other AI success metrics. And number 5, to me, time or lack thereof is the true bottleneck of AI implementation. Let's unpack each of them. Number 1, decision making is collapsing under corporate safety networks. Last week, I had multiple conversations where a decision had to be made fast. Not in 6 months, not by the next quarter, within hours. Because technology is moving fast, business models and clients' expectations are moving fast as well. And yet, what I heard was this, quote, I need to raise this with my management first. Okay, we are working on it. Well, I just returned from holiday and it's kind of manic here. All right, I'm in leadership meetings all day long this week. I'll turn to this next week. Or let me put this on the agenda of our next team meeting. Don't get me wrong. I understand. And I am not criticizing the individuals behind these statements. What I am criticizing are the systems behind them. Because this is what actually happens in established organizations of small, medium, and actually also large sizes. We build these huge safety networks. And the bigger these networks, the safer everyone within them feels. But to me, here is the downside of this. Accountability gets distributed to too many people so that it ultimately actually disappears. It trickles down to nobody feeling responsible for anything anymore. And that's, quite frankly, deadly in a world where decisions really need to be taken greatly and speedily. Now, I've worked in big organizations. And right now, I'm working in a very lean startup environment, transforming .legal and our platform, Gold.ai. I can tell you the contrast from my old past to the current days is actually quite brutal. In our current lean environment, decision-making looks like this. You decide. You take responsibility. You test. You adjust. In an established environment, however, the decision-making often, at least what I see, looks like this. You prepare. You align. You circulate. You schedule. You reschedule. You socialize the idea and the concept. And then you align with stakeholders. Then it's decision-making time. But at that point, when the decision finally comes to the table, the emotional attachment to the original idea is largely gone. The original determination to drive this idea is gone. And maybe even the timing is gone. And here's the consequence. In times of AI and digital disruption, organizations that require 2, 3, 4, 5 layers of safety will lose to the ones who do trust the individual to decide. Not because small ones are smarter or faster, but because they are actually braver. So if you are watching this and you are in a leadership position, the next competitive advantage to you and to your organization, in my view, is not AI. It is actually courageous decision-making. And that is a human topic and not a technology topic. And that's what TomTime is about. Human ahead of AI. The second observation in this episode of TomTime is the following. In my view, the legal and compliance world lives in two parallel realities. I call them dreamland and I call them mainland. And this week, I felt like two universes were actually hitting me at the same time. Dreamland. That's where we talk passionately about agentic AI solving entire workflows, compliance running itself, legal advice produced instantly, smart systems executing tasks with barely any human involvement or human in the loop, as we call it. And on the other side, there is mainland. What do I mean by that? People are dealing with significant geopolitical conflicts. There are protests. There is blood on the streets. There is regulatory pressure and uncertainty, supply chain risks, data security, cybersecurity fires, and of course, as we read about it all the time, trade compliance and tariff headaches. And I actually keep wondering, why is nobody connecting the dots between dreamland on one side and mainland on the other? Because, in my view, in mainland, legal and compliance departments, law firms, nobody does want fantasies. We all want reliability. We want control. We want predictability. We want someone accountable when something goes wrong. And this, in my view, is the key tension. If we actually implement these wonderful agentic AI layers, orchestration layers at scale, if it actually works, then we need to ask the honest question, what happens to the underlying human support we all have been gotten used to? Or what happens if one part of the chain makes a mistake and it's carried over within this orchestration layer to the next one? You cannot talk about agentic AI as pure upside. It is not just automation, every problem goes away. It is a significant operational redesign. It fundamentally changes the staffing equation as well. And that's where the market gets emotionally and it gets very uncomfortable. And oftentimes it honestly gets silent. So agentic AI, dreamland, reality, mainland, let's connect the dots closer to each other. Number 3. Yes, productivity gains are there with AI, but nobody wants to talk about the people conversation as we just touched. I have seen productivity gains myself, not just theoretical, I mean real world gains. In my former role as a leader of digital transformation in a large multinational organization, we achieved 30% productivity gains in the legal and compliance team around the world, actually without fancy AI. How? By doing away with the boring, with the transactional stuff, cleaning up processes, eliminating bureaucracy all around us, pruning our portfolios and letting tasks go that didn't really add value or mitigate risks, removing redundant review layers. 30%. Now add AI on top of those 30%, especially as we talked about this, agentic AI. To me, another 30% productivity gain is not a crazy theory. But now do the math. Your FTE calculation changes dramatically with those 60%. You go from 10 people to 4. Or if you are a larger organization, you go from 1,000 to 400. That is not a technical conversation anymore. It is a severely human conversation. And now, if you are the general counsel, the CFO, CEO, chief compliance officer, chief of staff of an organization hammered by regulatory scrutiny of these days, the last thing you want is an FTE battlefield because of a surplus between 30 and 60%. The last thing you want are those people wars, internal fights, union issues, workers' council conflicts, maybe negative team sentiment. And this is honestly why I believe the dream of an AI-enabled legal department, and there are several out there, and I see this in invitations to conferences, that there is some start around there, no problem. But the dream of an almost fully AI-enabled legal department as it's being promulgated is still largely a dream. Not because of AI doing these magical things, because the prerequisites are simply not there yet, and I don't see them there anytime soon at scale. Clear processes, acceptance by the users of these legal and compliance services that have been used to human protection and support, operational redesign, the change management, and a bold, transparent human strategy for what happens to the FTE capacity if you deploy agentic AI systemically. Nobody wants to talk about the FTE consequences. We all want the AI magic without them. But that's, to me, not really possible. Number 4, legal tech success metrics. Frankly, what I have seen so far is also a bit of a spectrum, but many of them have been quite depressing. For example, I read an article about the expansion of Harvey within the global law firm of CMS. I like Harvey. I think CMS is wonderful, stellar. I like the leadership teams. I'm sure that they do phenomenal work for their clients, but give me a break. Because the headline metric was this, quote, the use of this technology saved 118 hours per lawyer per year. 118 hours per lawyer per year. And I'm sitting here thinking that cannot be the victory story we want, because let's be real. We know the typical billable target in a law firm is around 1,900 hours per year. To achieve that, lawyers work close to 3,000 hours per year. So 118 hours saved per year is roughly a 3.9 productivity gain. 3.9% productivity gain. That's not disruption. That is a rounding error in my view. I'm not saying it's useless and neglectable, but I am saying, please stop celebrating those tiny outcomes like if they were a revolution. Because productivity gains of 30% are absolutely achievable in legal work if you address the real waste. Now you always see the balloons in the celebrations. They are absolutely achievable. For example, how many review layers exist before a memo is released? 2, 3, 4? AI can cut that down to one. Process design can be cut down to one working, flawless process. And we don't need Ferrari platforms with many bells and whistles we barely use. Like we don't use all the tools in our Word Microsoft platform. We don't need these fancy layers of technology when 80% of us are not even driving this AI engine yet. So when I read about a success metric headline of 3.9%, I don't feel inspired. It kind of depresses me a little bit because it does signal we are investigating huge energy and honestly also money into certainly modern AI tools without the courage to implement them boldly and properly. And that ties back to decision making and accountability. Number 5, everyone talks about AI adoption, but time to me is the real bottleneck. And time or lack thereof is a painfully human experience. So I've been seeing people coming back from their Christmas or year-end holidays where they slowed down, reflected, really had a great time, reaccelerating at work at an insane pace. Leadership meetings all day long, strategy conversations going on for days, even in the first week, calls after calls after calls. And I tell you what I believe. If there is one bottleneck for bold AI implementation in the legal and compliance space or in any other professional services, it is not money. It is not the willingness to really go in and redefine your target operating model. It's not the AI tools for sure. It is time, because you need time to redesign your framework. AI cannot be installed as the fifth wheel on the wagon. It cannot be a side project squeezed in between many, many meetings. You also need people dedicated boldly and exclusively to this change, because AI requires thinking, strategic thinking. It requires process design, a new layer of governance, training, change management. You all know it. And none of that happens in haste. Yet, to me, right now, everything is actually done in haste because leadership directs so, get AI ready at lightning speed. Competitors maybe claim or pretend that they are ahead of you, talk about it all the time. Maybe your board keeps asking constantly about where are you with the AI implementation. But to me, that's not sustainable transformation. It's, and I'm blunt and maybe exaggerating a little bit, corporate AI panic disguised as innovation. So when people ask me, hey, Tom, why is the AI adoption not moving faster in the legal and compliance space? My answer is because these industries are actually overbooked. There's no breathing room. There's no space to rethink. There's no space to rebuild. No space, and maybe, as I said before, willingness to simplify. But time and simplification and clarity about true value and process optimization are the true foundations of AI and the data generation needed to deploy it. So before I close, I want to share 2 more things I read this week that kind of blew my mind and would love to hear from you what you think. First, a recent Thomson Reuters Georgetown Law report said something along the lines of, quote, 80% of US general counsel do not expect their outside lawyers to use AI right now, unquote. 80%. Now, give me a break. I'm thinking, how is it possible that 80% of US GCs do not expect outside lawyers to use AI because clients want speed, they want efficiency, they want predictability, but they don't want AI. Well, maybe they do want AI, they just don't want to pay human hourly rates for machine output. I will unpack this in the next episode of Tom Time, but I think GCs these days want decisions, want protection, want clarity, and the money to achieve that is actually fairly secondary because of all the turmoil in this world. Maybe you disagree. That's my opinion at this point. The other quote that hit me was Chief Justice Menon in Singapore calling out the end of the legal training as we know it. That is the other extreme. So the difference between those general counsels and the Chief Justice in Singapore couldn't be larger. One side says, I don't expect the use of AI yet. The other side says legal training must fundamentally change. Now, both might be right. I don't have the real answer here either. The legal markets in this world are vastly different dynamics, different regulation, different money and clients. No market is the same. But here's the key. Neither AI denial will win, nor unnecessarily strong pressure will on the other side. I'm sure everybody agrees sober execution wins, sober assessment wins. And let's connect both poles in a smart way. Lastly, a bit of a reality check. We are sitting here talking about agentic AI, orchestration layers, phenomenal founding rounds, while the real world is in flames. Iran, Ukraine, Venezuela, Nigeria, Greenland, the protests in the United States. There's instability all around us. And from my point of view, AI will not remove these challenges and those situations. It will not remove the risks. It will not remove the hate and the chaos. So the future is not AI utopia where everything is running automatically and we are just the human in the loop looking at the few mistakes algorithms might still be making. The future is AI for sure, but inside a fairly messy reality. And the winners, from my point of view, in this constellation will be those who can integrate AI, robotics, other advanced technologies into this crazy reality without losing humanity. So if I summarize my week into one message in this second episode of Tom Time, it's this. AI is not the hard part. We humans are the hard part. Let's really drill down to decision-making, accountability, time, courage, and change management as bottlenecks or battlefields, but actually opportunity playgrounds, as I call them, and target the upside rather than the downside. So if you're a legal leader or compliance leader or a corporate leader of any role or responsibility, do not chase the hype. Do not chase the fear. Do not chase conference slogans. Build calm execution, simplify processes, make brave decisions, or enable your team to make brave decisions and design the future deliberately and transparently, because AI will not wait for your next leadership team meeting. Thank you very much. This was Tom Time episode 2, and now I would like to hear from you. What did you see this week? And what is your biggest blocker right now? Is it the tools, the AI technology? Is it the governance? Is it the time, as I said? Is it individuals? Or is it simply that nobody wants to own these bold decisions? Please drop your views in the comment section. And if you disagree, even better, honestly, because dispute and disagreement bring different perspectives together, and it shows that you think and that you argue, certainly with the right intentions. Thank you for your time. See you next week at the next episode of Tom Time. Take care. Goodbye.